Welcome to this episode of Clinically Pressed. In this episode, we go down to Riverside Corporate Wellness in La Crosse, Wisconsin. This is an episode we've been looking forward to doing for a while, as our co-host AJ has gone down there quite a bit with some classes at UWL and has always come back raving about these guys and the model they have set up and the direction that they're going. So we're really excited to get to sit down with both Michelles, one as the director of education and the other as the director of fitness. And we got into just kind of what RCW is in this episode and what they offer. Really interesting stuff. I personally truly believe this is the way that healthcare should be going and probably is going to need to be going, as it's just continuing to get bigger and bigger, and it's going to be really hard to sustain at some point here in the near future, as we've seen with some other things. So this is a great episode, some great insight. If you're in corporate, this might be something worth looking into, developing on your own or contracting out. Just so many good ideas with this. I know we took away a lot that we want to implement ourselves with Clinically Pressed. Along with that, please make sure you're checking out Paragon Fitness and Nutrition. Guys are making a huge push on quality of sleep, which is just such an important thing with their blue light blocking glasses, their night gain supplements. Use promo code CP15 for 15% off at checkout. They've got some unbelievable deals. Basically, you can set yourself up for the year. Just awesome stuff. We really highly recommend checking out them if you can. Check us out on iTunes. Leave us a review. At least give some stars. And also subscribe on YouTube. Enjoy this episode. Well, welcome to this episode of Clinically Pressed. We are down at Riverside Corporate Wellness with Michelle Plus, who is their health educator, as well as Michelle McClellan, director of corporate fitness. We're basically just coming down here to hear what they do, everything that is, and if you check out their website, which we'll obviously link up, it's a lot. So we'll get to everything that we possibly can, but I know our other co-host, who unfortunately is in Missouri right now, has been here several times. Andrew Jagum would bring his classes down here, and we'd always hear how great things were. And this is the first time I've been down here. So, with that, if you guys just want to give a little background on A, yourselves, and then B, just what is the whole corporate wellness setup.
Sure. Well, my name is Michelle Plus, and I'm the health educator of Riverside Corporate Wellness. We're located down in the Riverside Center buildings. That's where our first and main camp location is. And then we also recently, within the past year, have opened up a second fitness facility in Bell Square. And then we also recently, within the past month and a half, opened an alternative therapy suite also within the Bell Square location. Riverside Corporate Wellness provides wellness programming to several different downtown businesses within the La Crosse area. Our main and first client is going to be Logistics Health Incorporated. They have what we call our Platinum program, which has access to all of our services. Our logo, we like to look at it as a compass, and our tagline is Choose Your Direction. And each part of the compass has different obviously directions. So we have health education, fitness, alternative therapy, and primary health. And our main philosophy is to promote a culture of health and wellness through education, primary health, alternative therapies, and fitness to make not only the employees healthy but also their families. So we extend all of our services to spouses as well as dependents.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'm Michelle McClellan. I'm the Director of Corporate Fitness, and my background is in corporate exercise management, and my responsibility is predominantly to the fitness programming, services, staffing, and making sure that our members feel comfortable and confident and safe in the fitness environment, and that it is a non-intimidating environment. So regardless of ability and age, everyone is welcome, and there is a place for them to actually exercise at whatever level of ability they're capable of.
Wow.
Very nice.
How does this all tie in? So, like with, you said the logistics health is kind of where it started, and then is that just like it just blossomed and grew from there to start to include other businesses?
Yeah, so Teresa Pulvermacher, our Director of Program Operations, Riverside Corporate Wellness was her brainchild. So she was actually working for LHI at the time and noticed a lot of the employees didn't really have the greatest health habits. So she started off with just basic wellness tips like eating your fruits and vegetables, drinking water, why you should take the stairs, not the elevator, that type of thing. Eventually, the wellness program blossomed into fitness. We added a small fitness facility, and then roughly around the same time, we added some massage therapy and chiropractic care as well. And then in 2012, we added a primary care health clinic that's on site and free for employees to use. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And when we renovated and moved to our location in 2008, it was recognized that other tenants in the buildings might be interested in participating in the fitness offerings. And so we became Riverside Corporate Wellness at that time. And the tenants in that building participated. Kaplan University or Kaplan Professional, they've been known by a few names, and SAP joined in the participation of our programs and services. And we've since grown.
Yeah. So what does it entail now at the new location at the Bell Center?
For the most part, we replicated everything that we're doing now, and with that location, we have increased our commercial side, so or the option for renters in the commercial towers of Bell Square, and so with that brought on a few new contracts for us and their participation. But otherwise, it's the fitness facility, the health education, and the wellness services. Not everybody has an opportunity to participate in the primary care, and it just has to do with whether or not their corporation was interested yet in investing in that. And that's something that continues to be navigated, year by year and discussed.
Sure. Nice. So they can kind of pick and choose what services they want to have for their
most
package,
part,
I guess.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Do you see that certain corporations or certain businesses typically use the same services, or is it just greatly vary?
It really depends on the corporation's need. I would say usually the first and foremost program that a corporation will buy into will be fitness. And secondly would probably be a tie between alternative therapy or health education, just depending, again, on what the need is for the employees.
Cool. So, I've got lots of questions. I'll keep
going. Just keep going.
So with the health education, then,
Mm-hmm.
do they give you? Do they just say, okay, educate our employees? Is that basically it, or do they have some direction where they say, well, I feel like this would be important for our particular employee population?
So I think at first a lot of the corporations just say, hey, let's educate our employees on health. We provide weekly wellness communications that focus on not only fitness or nutrition, but also health education topics, such as why women should get mammograms on an annual basis after the age of 40, or why getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep is important. So we do the weekly wellness communication. I also do tobacco cessation with a lot of employees. So I can offer either individual counseling sessions for tobacco cessation or e-cigarette cessation, as well as I offer a group 10-week tobacco cessation program. And a lot of corporations also include free nicotine replacement for those participants, which makes quitting a lot easier for people.
For sure.
And then we also provide other educational forums, such as they're called brown bag luncheons, so basically a 1-hour seminar where we bring in a speaker to talk on various wellness topics such as mental health or physical health, alternative therapies. We also cover financial wellness, which is important for a lot of people too. So every year, a lot of our corporations also promote a personal health assessment for their employees. So after the personal health assessment is completed by an employee, we get the aggregate data and we pick and choose what information would be most applicable for us to structure our programming around. So we usually see a lot of employers with higher cholesterol, so we'll focus on educational tips on lowering your cholesterol and why sleep is important and information like that.
Very cool.
What have you guys seen as like your biggest, I'm trying to think, like impact when it comes to that stuff? Because I mean, education is probably the key to most of it, but everybody seems to struggle with whether they get started or they keep going. Or have you found anything that you guys have implemented that seems to get more results for or compliance?
That's a good question. I feel like we try a lot of different things and not everything sticks, and everybody's a little bit different, but we've had really good success with nutrition. We have a registered dietitian on board, and he's promoting a nutrition university every month. It's a different topic, and they meet weekly, but it has a kind of a theme for that month. And so we're recognizing that people really gravitate towards, what's healthy eating and how do I prepare it and what does this mean? And so that's been successful, but I think that because everybody eats, everybody's interested in that. But the other thing is, Michelle does some behavioral screening and intervention in our clinic, and she helps kind of connect the dots with patients, figuring out where there might be a gap in their learning or just becoming familiar or acclimated to the different types of programs that are out there so that they can become the owners of their own health. And so I think that's helped us a lot too, is being able to kind of give people some direction and connect them with the right people in our provider network, if you will, our whole program. So it varies, I guess, and I think a lot of it through the health education communications weekly. You never know what is a hot topic that everybody's going to respond to, and so we find that interesting too. I mean, we can put out a Fitbit and not hear anything, and then a couple months later some other topic comes out, and the next thing I know, my mailbox is flooded and my trainers are getting a lot of questions. So we don't really know exactly for sure. It's always different, but people are reading, and that's kind of cool.
Another thing I think that has really struck a chord with people is fitness center incentives or challenges. Right now we have a RCW version of a World Cup challenge going on, and we always get anywhere between 50 and 100 participants, and usually if there's a prize involved, the number of participants is going to go up. But yeah, that usually if we do a fitness center challenge, it brings in a lot of different participants than normal. So it's nice to see new faces and kind of get them exposed to different parts of our wellness program that they wouldn't normally take part in.
So are all these programs just optional for said employees then? And they can just choose if they want to do it?
Yep,
or
it's literally a menu of options, and they pick and choose what they want to participate in. And we always love to see when spouses and dependents get involved too, because that means the whole family's involved. So it's great.
Probably makes it easier for the other spouse that's an employee if they have that support at home, and it's cool. So from it's really neat to see all the impact that you have on a individual basis, like affecting all these people's lives. Do you, when you're proposing this to a business, what are the benefits to the business side? Because I'm sure there is benefits to them too for employee satisfaction and productivity and all that side of things. So what have you guys seen there?
Well, I think it starts with employee satisfaction and them feeling valued, and they have an opportunity to get out and kind of socialize as well as de-stress, if you will, and then improve their own physical fitness, and whether that's in fitness activity or whether it's learning through health education. I think that it's employee morale that is definitely visible, and I think that depending on how deep you go with the data that is returned, it can make a difference on some of their insurance claims and so on and so forth, and it can be a leveraging tool for health insurance premiums in the next year, depending on kind of what's available to that corporation. But we've seen evidence demonstrated that there have been changes for some of our large corporations and financial savings towards that. But, just seeing, decreased level of absenteeism, having our, for those corporations that participate or businesses that participate in our primary care, we're definitely seeing that people are more eager to pay attention to their health because it's available to them and it's less time away from their desk because of its location on site.
Right.
So that's made a big difference, and especially for our female population who are expecting children and the opportunity to, in their later, trimester, last trimester, prior to delivering, their appointments are very short, but the amount of time that it takes to leave your desk to go to the clinic to do that appointment and to get back and to find parking sometimes can take up 2, 3, 4 hours in a day. And so with it being located here, it's made a lot of a difference in terms of managing their time and just being timely with the rest of their day and their work schedule. So I think that's probably one of the bigger things that our participating corporations have recognized, like, wow, this is really a nice convenient opportunity for these employees.
For sure. I could see the comfort level too being a lot better here than having to go into a more rigid hospital or something like that where they can just
and
feel
hospitals are always on time, so
right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Very nice. That's cool.
you're on a roll, so I'm just gonna let you keep going.
So I guess where do you guys see this continuing? Because I feel like it's a tremendous example to set. Your model is just awesome, and you're talking about like the health insurance type things, and I would like it to go that way for health insurance to lower premiums for people that are taking care of themselves more. But do you guys foresee that happening on a larger scale, like this continuing to grow, or this model for other corporations?
We would love to see it continue to grow. I've been with Riverside Corporate Wellness for almost 4 years, and in the 4 years I've been here, it has grown tremendously. So
I was just looking at your guys' site and the amount of people on it, and it just kept going. And I was surprised in a good way, but
yeah. So I would hope in the next 4 to 10 years that it just doubles, triples, quadruples. That would be my ideal situation.
Yeah, I think that our executive leadership demonstrates, something of value, and I think his colleagues in the area are kind of paying attention to that, and in some situations they're applying that to their own workforce, perhaps not at the same level, but Michelle has been working with WellCoA towards a Well County initiative in 22 different area businesses, demonstrating some form of worksite wellness programming that's being offered so that La Crosse County can be recognized as a well county. And so that kind of, was born out of us participating in WellCoA and demonstrating worksite wellness and to these corporations here. And I think it's people are paying attention, and then you have somebody like Michelle who's an advocate for that with other leaders in the community. I think that that's something that it's a movement, and it's continuing to spread, and hopefully we see this in other corporations, whether it's through our services or their own. But, of course, we would like to continue seeing it happen, as us being the providers. But at the end of the day, I think all of us who provide these services, or this is our career chosen profession, want to just see people healthy,
Right.
whatever that is.
yeah, I think you guys are on the front end of it, and who knows when it's going to happen. But I know there's been a lot of people talking about when healthcare in and of itself just gets too big and breaks, that if you can get on the front side of it and figure out how to implement it, and like you said, make it cost effective and whatnot, those people are going to do very, very well for themselves, yet still benefiting everybody else.
For sure. Yeah. Common goal. So what type of, you talk about the nutrition, and I'm sure a lot of what we run into is just like motivating people or getting them to kind of like implement this, because I think a lot of people know, well, yeah, I shouldn't eat this, I should eat this, but how have you guys found ways to kind of help people make that part of a lifestyle more than just like a temporary change?
I think offering a non-judgmental environment is extremely helpful. Weight and fitness, they can be very touchy subjects. So if we open ourselves up to just being non-judgmental and being welcoming, I think that really helps people take that first step to say, hey, I need some help with some general nutrition information, or I do need a fitness program to help me lose a little weight or get in better shape. I think that definitely helps.
And it sounds like nothing's like cookie cutter when it
Mm-mm.
comes to any of this,
No.
and I think that's
No.
huge. We talk about that all the time, that just the extremism from
Yeah.
one side to the other, that everybody has to be this or else you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. It's going to break because it's just not meant for everybody,
Right.
Mhm.
because everybody just responds so differently to things.
Yeah, and I think that a big part of that nutrition component when we talk about non-judgmental or any of our programs, but when you ask the question, how do you get people on board with nutrition and actually get them into action and applying it? Our registered dietitian, Jordan Murray, does a fabulous job in that he does that one-on-one counseling. He does that nutrition university in group settings. He's very creative in how he reaches people. He's just started a book club. You don't have to read the book to participate in the conversation at the end of the reading of it, if you will, and he provides all the notes. He also goes so far as doing grocery store tours, and he does some cooking classes and demonstrations that way. So, and he's always writing blogs, so he's willing to pretty much meet people wherever they are. And if you're, you have a favorite food or habit or ethnic, dish, the goal is not to take it away from you. It's to try to figure out how can you incorporate that
Right.
and still be on the healthier side of your nutritional intake to fuel your body to do what it needs to do and to function. So, and I think that that's just one example. So I think that in all of our other programs, our providers do something similar in their own way. So it's just meeting them in a place where they're at and being open to kind of helping them, being non-judgmental about it, and being creative as to how you're going to address it. And it, like you said, it's not cookie cutter. It's not just, one way is tried and true. It's however it works for each individual.
Right.
It's a lot of options for people to have.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm curious what the alternative therapies are, just because of in the world today, the alternative therapies could mean absolutely anything. So just out of morbid curiosity more than anything.
Well, it's an approach to non-traditional medicine, I guess. So, for some people, they may need, something along the lines of massage therapy,
Mhm.
in adjunct with something that might be traditional medicine. We've recently brought on board somebody who practices acupuncture.
Okay.
We do chiropractic care here as well. And we have on site a physical therapist, although he wouldn't be considered alternative therapy. He is available on site here, and he's at a reduced cost, if you will, as compared to what might be seen in fees in a clinic or the hospital.
Right.
And getting to see him doesn't require a lot of hoops, or it doesn't require you to be referred. You can go directly to him as any of the other providers. So
Nice.
those are some of our alternative therapists, and we're incorporating some one-on-one yoga for specialty areas of pain or issues with movement. So that's new to us, and again, or I guess it's returning to us in small group settings or one-on-one delivery. And is there something else I'm forgetting?
Meditation?
Oh, I do.
Oh,
I
wow.
do some meditation. I think that that's become a big thing around here, is creating a mindful awareness of just your surroundings and an ability to learn how to relax. Give yourself an opportunity to kind of clear the clutter from the corners of your brain, and give yourself that time to just kind of decompress and take care of yourself first, and learn when you've reached a point where maybe you need to step away. We know that the people that we serve have very stressful jobs, and they don't get to just completely wipe that away from the next call that they take or the next meeting that they have to attend. And so sometimes giving them a chance to learn how to kind of be in that space of some of the stress and learn to de-stress from it and kind of reduce some of that I guess anxiety that you might discover or be a result of the work that they have to do is something that's important.
It's nice how easy the access is for for all the employees.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
huge.
What else you
Yep.
got?
Well, there were one question in comparing to other corporate wellness. Are you guys different than maybe another group that is doing a corporate wellness type business, I guess? Or do you guys do things differently? Or like you said, everybody's kind of in it for the same goal? Or are you familiar with anybody else doing a similar service?
I don't know that I can say that I'm completely familiar with what others are doing for sure. I just know that for us, we follow kind of a corporate wellness home model. And so the goal is to basically take any individual wherever they are, whatever portion of their wellness compass they step into, the remaining providers kind of step up and connect some of the dots where they need that assistance. And so it's kind of that cohesive care. You know, if somebody presents to me in the fitness center and they do fitness coaching and I discover that they need, you know, some additional attention, maybe through primary care, or maybe they need some health education, or you know, maybe they do need to see a chiropractor. I'm planting some of those seeds and maybe talking to some of those other providers to see if we can't get them some additional help. And for the most part, outside of our alternative therapies, there is no fee associated with the services we provide. But because our alternative therapists are actually independently contracted and agreeing to work with us, they do charge a fee for their service, but their service fees are really quite reduced in comparison to what you might see in commercial industry.
Right.
So they have the convenience of access to all of these providers, and we can make that happen really quickly. I'm not sure about other corporate wellness programming. I would say that a lot of corporate wellness programming seems to be in the physical fitness kind of component as well as the health education. I'm not sure if they have that alternative therapy option, and likelihood is they can refer to clinics for primary care options, but they can't directly connect them with an appointment, you know, like we could potentially do much quicker. So that's what makes us a little bit different. We can move a little bit quicker through the system. We can get somebody where they need to be and the help that they need in a very short amount of time.
That's really nice. I feel like that's a huge barrier a lot of times where you have to wait, you know, and then something happens or it falls through the cracks or people change their
Absolutely.
mind. So that's huge.
You can call for an appointment 2.5 weeks out.
I think
That's always fun.
I think a prime example is we have a behavioral health specialist on staff as part of our primary care clinic. Her services are completely free, and the greatest piece about that is that she has really quick appointment turnaround time. So if someone's in a mental health crisis, they're not going to be waiting weeks to months to be seen.
Gotcha.
They'll be seen either later today or earlier tomorrow based on like appointments, other scheduled appointments. But
Yep.
I think that's probably the greatest part of the clinic is we do serve mental health and we serve it pretty quickly.
That's awesome because they're going to need it
Mhm.
now.
Yep.
They don't need it
Yep.
down
Yeah.
the road.
Yeah, just for you guys to be aware of that and staff it appropriately
Mhm.
to be able to do that. I think, you know, it's one thing to offer the service and it's the next thing to offer it in a timely, like, because
Yep.
everybody's now yesterday in the world.
And I think it gets neglected a lot too because it's not something physical that you can tangibly touch or feel. Where you're talking about the mindset and all that stuff, it gets brushed under the rug way too easily, I think,
Right.
a lot. So
Yep.
that's great. Cool. Another question on the fitness side. So we've talked a lot about, you know, the programs and other things. So do people come and say, I've got this goal of, you know, losing 10 pounds, or do you just go based on a goal, or do some people say, you know, I want to compete in this,
Yeah.
run a half marathon or something?
It can be anything, you know, just depending on what it is they're after, what their goal is. For some people, it's just simply to fall into a regular routine and maybe have somebody to be accountable to, you know, just to say, hey, I'm here. They feel like they need that. For other people, they are training for a marathon, a half marathon, maybe a 5K, you know. So it just depends on their goal. But I would say a lot of times people with a big goal in mind, where they feel like they need some assistance in navigating that, they schedule a fitness coaching appointment, or they're having a conversation with the trainer, and the trainer is saying, why don't you sit down and make a fitness coaching appointment and see if, we can put together a plan of action so that we aren't missing anything that you'd like to accomplish. And so I think that for a lot of people, they just need I guess validation that maybe what they're thinking is correct, because I would say more often than not, people come in and they have a good sense of what it is that their body needs, or what their lifestyle needs, and the changes that may need to be made, and so then it's just a matter of sitting down and having that conversation and pointing them in the right direction, or connecting them with the right people.
And opening that up, because I think that's the biggest barrier. You go to another gym, you got to pay your monthly membership, and then an extra several $100s to just even hang out and talk to someone to get that advice. And when you can eliminate that, how much easier is it?
And then to have the access to all the other avenues that you guys have. That's
Totally.
very special. Cool. I think I'm questioned out, Joel.
Well, we got a couple minutes before you got to run for a yoga class, so unless there's something else you guys want to make sure that we hit or cover, we can kind of jump into our clinically pressed questions. No?
Good to
I
go?
can't
I can't think of
anything.
anything.
So the first one is something that you believe in that others may not. Could be health and fitness related, or just in general. We're always curious.
We've had some totally off the wall ones.
Yes,
so.
we have.
So something that we believe in that perhaps other people don't.
Right.
Yep.
Wow.
And it doesn't have to be completely exclusive, because that's pretty tough these days.
Yeah.
But we've had people go from aliens to all kinds of stuff.
Well, it's certainly, I know that a lot of people think that, this is a society that's instant gratification.
Yep.
And so I think they think for, a few hours of effort over the course of a few weeks, they should be responding to whatever is taking place. And although commercials will tell you that you can do this, I guess, I don't know that that's something others wouldn't believe, but it does take time, and it is a journey, and it's something that requires, just small steps at a time. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. Is a lot of times people come in and they say, I want to lose, and it's an exorbitant amount of weight, and they want to do it in a very short amount of time, and they have a very aggressive plan in mind, and that's good and great to set some really strong and high goals. But at the end of the day, it comes down to just making one small change and trying to stick with that for a period of time before you add another change, and kind of settle into it, and recognize that you may have some missteps, you may have some backward steps, but as long as you're realizing that those are happening, and that you're gonna, step forward in the next day, or keep that on the radar, you can accomplish some of these goals. But it's just kind of like taking it one day at a time, and navigating it in terms of, we say it all the time, it's a journey, it's not a race, it's a lifestyle. So I don't know that that's a myth or anything people don't believe, but it is the truth. And we see that our greatest successes are really found in very simple things, like just getting somebody to pack a lunch as compared to spending money on a processed lunch, or
For
whatever
sure.
the case might be.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good one.
I guess I would say the same thing. I always tell my smokers, you didn't get to be a pack-a-day smoker overnight, so don't expect it to go in reverse the same. It's just, baby steps is really what it takes. And
Yeah,
just
I think it's a good reminder. Definitely.
Absolutely. You guys have 3 take-home tips that you would suggest, or it can be related to your respective area?
3 take-home tips. I guess we talk about the fitness triangle a lot in health coaching, where it's talking about your energy intake or your nutrition, paying attention to your energy output or your physical activity, and then the most important part of that base of that triangle is your rest and recovery and sleep. And so, you have to have an awareness of each of one of those, and all sides of that triangle may not be equal at various stages of your life. If you're a new parent, you're going to recognize that sleep portion is very tiny, and your intake
So
for
I've
food
heard.
might be ginormous, and your output for energy expenditure isn't going to be the greatest. But recognizing that they're all important, and at some point in time, you want to try to even those out to the best of your ability, is probably 3 takeaway tips: paying
Oh, that's
attention
good.
to
I hadn't
nutrition,
heard it.
fitness, and sleep.
Something like that before. That was a good one.
I think she said it. Wow.
That's good.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Most influential fitness purchase for around $100, and if you can't think fitness, anything.
Oh, we
within
were
that.
laughing about this morning. I was asking him, like, what do you guys think? And I'm always inclined to say you don't need any fitness equipment. You just need motivation in yourself and, determination to actually just move and gross muscle movement, I guess, if you will. You can work out with rocks and sticks. That was a joke in our fitness facility back in 2007 when it was really tiny. But we all agreed that dumbbells are a good place to start. A lower weight and a moderate weight, and you can pretty much put together anything. So I know there's a lot of magical tools out there, and my kids are of the age where they're like, "Hey, Mom, have you seen?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you can spend your money on that, but I think you can do it another way." So I don't know. I might be missing something, but I'm kind of old school.
That's fair enough.
I don't know. Can you buy motivation? Is that something you can do?
I think it's called coffee.
Yes,
There
there
you
you
go.
go. Perfect. Yeah.
That
Maybe
works.
a motivational book or something.
There you go.
Which takes us right into our next one. So
Well
do you guys
played.
have book recommendations?
I saw that and I was like, my reading lately has not been anything that anybody would be excited about. But a book that I had read recently was The Nature Fix by Florence Williams. So I wrote these notes down, and it's just really about how you can become happier, healthier, and more creative by spending some time in nature and what it does for our bodies physically as well as mentally. And I highly recommend it. I think I have more pages underlined and bookmarked than any other book that I've read in a long time. But
Interesting.
it was a great book. It was
I
a great
haven't heard
read.
of that one. That's good.
Yeah, get outside. Spend some time outside. We spend so much time at our offices and commuting, and our kids are finding that they're on gaming devices
Right.
and their own computers for school as well as for fun. And I just think that sometimes we forget that we have a whole world that's outside that you can get, whether it's physical recreation or if it's just an opportunity to decompress and be part of fresh air and green grass. And there's something to be said about the soil. There's, just being in nature is really good for you physically, mentally, and emotionally.
I haven't read too much on it, but I've always been interested in the concept of like earthing with like the grass and the ground and like going on barefoot to like balance out the electrical flow. I don't know enough about
and there
it,
is
but
merit to that.
and I've seen different things, and I haven't messed with it. I've wanted to when I've traveled, but finding grass wasn't always easy to go try and just see if it helps kind of reset you, balance you out.
Well, and that's interesting because, I have some notes on this too, and they were just commenting about the fact that, you spend a little bit of time in a park, it can make all the difference in the world. They were saying most people get a lot of benefit from city parks. As little as 5 hours a month can do the trick.
Oh, wow.
And, we're living in urban societies that just surrounded by concrete, it's not doing us any good. And so having exposure to the outdoor environment can make a huge difference in cognitive performance, as well as demonstrating the reduction of cortisol and stress hormones. So I'm always about, if you can get outside, get outside. We
For
always
sure.
talk about doing outdoor meetings, and sometimes that happens, but I would say more often than not, we're so rigid in our environment to paying attention to our typing and our computers and so on and so forth. It's easier to stay inside,
Yeah, I like it.
and we shouldn't get out.
Our Reiki therapist told me I need to get out and ground a little bit, and she told me to get out and I need to do that more. So
I try and walk around
But-
barefoot every time I can at home
Yeah.
and through the backyard, just
Yeah.
because.
I am actually reading a book called The Easy Way to Quit Smoking by Alan Carr, I believe. And it's just a really interesting take on giving advice of how to quit smoking. And he kind of just goes through and debunks a lot of the common quitting smoking excuses and myths.
Okay.
And he just kind of calls out people's BS, which I really appreciate.
There you go.
You got to do that with smokers sometimes.
I'm sure it makes it entertaining. A good read. then, too.
Absolutely.
Cool. Should we hit the next?
So
So
I'd be curious about the next one. We can
Yeah.
potentially bypass the last one.
okay, sounds good. So one more here. In your area of expertise, how would you make what you do that is complicated, something that you do that is complicated, how would you make that simple?
I feel like you guys have kind of touched on
You-
this. My favorite
thing
one
at
is
a time.
our runner who said just left foot in front of right or one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
That's how we
Yeah.
broke
You
it
kind of
down.
alluded to that,
I
Michelle,
think
as
it's,
well.
yeah, I think I kind of had some notes, just, don't assume that, everybody has an understanding. It's always going back to the foundations and the basics and just teaching it step by step. And because it can be overwhelming, regardless of whether you're talking about smoking cessation or if it's fitness or if it's nutrition. You get to a certain level of your profession that you just kind of assume everyone understands the language of the process, and so just backing it up, giving some foundational information on it, and walking through it step by step.
I think what's important to remember is that at one point everybody was a beginner in something. So just because someone might be, an avid weightlifter doesn't mean they've always been like that.
Right.
So
Sure.
everybody starts off at some point. So just kind of keeping that in mind, that you too can get to be at that level someday. You just have to start. That's
Definitely.
the important part.
That's great advice. Awesome. Well, we think we should wrap up quick because Michelle's got to run here, but
I do.
maybe in the future we could do a follow-up,
Yeah.
delve in a little bit further.
Sure.
Sure.
All right.
Anything to plug or where to find you guys? Best places to get more information that we can link up?
Yeah, so our website is just riversidecorporatewellness.com. It's a really great resource. You can send us a message on there and we can give you more information on our corporation and our philosophies. We have an Instagram and Twitter. It's at RCW Lacrosse. And then we also have Facebook, just Riverside Corporate Wellness. Find us there and give us a shout.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks, ladies.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
Thank
bet.
you.
thank you.
Thank you for checking out this episode of Clinically Press. Go to clinicallypress.com for full show notes and links to everything that was covered in this episode. While you're there, you have access to all of our episodes, insights, and shorts. You can find Clinically Press on YouTube and any other podcast outlet. If you could give us a rating, thumbs up, or review on how we are doing, we would greatly appreciate it. To get more free content delivered to your inbox, sign up for Total Athletic Therapy newsletter. You'll get direct links to all clinically pressed episodes, reviews on some of the latest research in health and performance, and links to related podcasts and other items meant to help you make the complicated simple and optimize performance. Thank you for listening, and see you next episode.